One of the key requirements for this course is our research action plan. So I want to take a couple of minutes and let you see what that looks like, and how we can support you through this program. So I'm just going to share my screen. And here we are in our welcome and getting started. And you'll notice that there's a whole tab here called the Research Action Plan Explained. If I click on that, here's the Research Action Plan as an overview. So over the course of this program, we will explore how to increase student agency in the classroom. It is important to guide this work. We're adapting the 6 stages of spiraling inquiry. You'll see I've added a couple of links here to Spiral Inquiry Playbook, as well as Innovation in the Spirals of Inquiry. If you're interested in these two topics of how to use inquiry to inspire innovation, these are two very helpful links to get started. Okay, so I've broken down the research action plan into 6 key steps, and we'll be addressing those in each module as well. The first one is about collecting data, interpreting data, and then we move into ensuring student voice and choice by developing a hunch. So it's playful language, creating an enabling environment, new learning to inform that practice, and then meeting the needs of all learners. How might we take action for impact? But let's get down to the nitty-gritty. So we can click here, and up comes the Research Action Plan template. Now, within each module, I've taken each section and put it on its own, but you can always refer back to this whole flow to see how this works. So we begin with our 6 steps of the spirals of inquiry: scanning, what's happening in your classroom, what's happening for your learners; focusing, now that you've seen what's happening and taken an intentional approach, you can look for opportunities to increase student agency. And then developing a hunch. So how might we improve student agency in our classroom? Then we'll take a break from that. We'll actually look at new learning. What research is out there to help us understand how to make a positive impact for student agency? And then we develop an action plan. So what shifts in your practice might actually increase student agency? And then finally, checking. Are we actually having the impact that we want to have? So each step is broken down. Step 1 is in Module 1, and we've called that applying inquiry into practice through scanning. So what's going on for our learners? I'll include the due dates here once those are finalized in the course. And so then I provide a scaffold. So using the chart below it will help you curate the data that you find. So what's going on for our learners? I give you some prompts around how different ways the classroom is managed, what choice they have in how they learn and how they demonstrate their learning. And so a simple chart: what observations do you see? What conversations do you hear? And what products do students show or develop to demonstrate how you can answer those questions? In Module 1, you'll then post these so that other people can see in the course what your observations are. And you too will be able to see other observations from some participants. And then you will comment on those and say, I see some patterns here. Step 2 is about sourcing and applying learning data. And we use that by focusing. That's the spiral step, focusing. So based on your findings, we're looking to identify patterns around student agency. And so we go back to our data that we've collected. We start to look for patterns. Anything that happens over 3 times is a pattern worth noting. That doesn't have to be directly related to student agency, because we don't know the sort of ripple effects that some of your observations and conversations might have. So pattern description goes in the left-hand column. And was this pattern observed, heard, or demonstrated? What does this pattern tell you about student agency? What does it tell you about your students in general? In Module 2, you'll then publish that and get some feedback on it. Then we develop questions. So based on my research action plan question, what data collection methods best suits my needs? And what questions or observations will I pay attention to? And again, you'll get feedback from your participants, from your peers in the course. Module 3 is about ensuring learner voice and choice. And so using your data and the patterns that are emerging for you, trying to figure out what opportunities exist for student voice and choice in their learning. And so here we've got this little fill in the blank to help you get started as a prompt. But what we're trying to do here is frame your problem statement. So based on what you've seen and heard, now that we've taken those and looked at patterns, what we want to do is say, okay, let's start moving into a little bit of action here. So we phrase it, as a problem statement. Example number one, to improve student agency, our students need to maybe sit in groups. They need to have some bell ringers at the beginning of class. They need to have a stop, start, continue during the middle of a unit in order to allow them to feel more involved in the coursework, in order to allow them to engage in the learning, in order to give feedback to help you help them. So these are simple prompts that we can use. And it's in module 3 where we take all of that and we pause and we say, what learning, what research is already out there to help us inform our practice? And so we're going to create an annotated bibliography. If you're not familiar with them, I do provide some links in module 3, but they are a great way for you to very simply analyze or use an article or journal or newspaper article or maybe a small book that you've read, and then really quickly decipher and curate and then communicate the significance of it. And this is where I see our discussion boards really coming alive in module 3 to say, hey, if you're pursuing that question, if that's your problem statement, then this book might help. And so we can start sharing resources around. I think it'd be really, really good for all of us. Step 4 is then actually taking action for impact. And that's the next step in our spirals of inquiry. So now that we have a problem statement, what are some solutions that we might come to? And so again, our discussion boards will come to life here as we all are sharing some ideas in terms of how we can take action. So you'll propose an action step. Here's why you think this will work. And then we go back and we reflect. What did we hope to achieve? And then what impact did you observe? So in this 2-row chart, we'll be able to actually see your intention and then your impact, which leads us to our step 6, which will be determined as the course is moving through. And so I'm looking to you to help me figure out perhaps what step 6 might look like, sound like, and feel like on this course. So to sum it all up, there's our action plan template. We use our 6 steps in the spiraling inquiry, and each step is broken down within each module. So hopefully this isn't too overwhelming. We'll just go step by step. And I think we have a really nice timetable mapped out for us so that we don't get too far ahead of ourselves. And there's an opportunity to stop and for ourselves to reflect on our work. Okay, thanks so much.